And for more analysis on the recent rash of gun violence, we're joined now by former Toronto Police homicide detective Mark Mendelson. We always appreciate you coming in and talking about kind of just taking a zoom out look at what's happening here. And generally going into the summer, there's a lot of concerns. But talk about maybe some of your concerns as a former police officer as we head to the end of the summer, going into the school year. Why are we seeing these kind of, increases in shootings?
Well, I don't think we're going back to the infamous summer of the gun. But, we have talked, and, there have been weekends where it's been quiet and people are lauding the lower rate of violent crime over a particular weekend. But we've also said, look, it only takes one weekend. You get 3 or 4 murders and you get a couple of stabbings and all of a sudden the numbers shoot back up again. What I find most intriguing is the ages of the victims, and over the last year or so, the ages of the accused that have been found with firearms and been charged with murder and firearms. The number's going down and down and down. Part of that is they are young offenders. They will serve a much shorter period of time in custody if they're convicted than an adult would. And it's also the proliferation and the availability of the handguns. The days of teenagers sorting it out in the school parking lot, getting into a punch-up or what have you, yelling and screaming, that's all gone. And even knives are gone. Now they're reverting right to they're bringing out the big machinery, and they're going right to the firearms. Because for many of them, it's this psychology that the gun makes you tougher, the gun makes you stronger, the gun makes you impermeable to anybody else, and that's a big problem.
But a lot of these young individuals committing these crimes, they're foot soldiers. They're being paid by the guys who are at the top of the chain, and they're not getting involved in these kind of street-level shootings. But I'm curious, does this mean we need to take another look at the Youth Criminal Justice Act? Because, for a lot of these kids, let's be honest, who are 17, 16, who are committing violent crime, they know the system. They understand it's a catch and release. They're going to get a slap on the wrist, maybe not all the time, but for the most part, they're going to be out that same day. Do we need to have another look at this particular piece of legislation? Does it need to be lowered? What are your thoughts on this?
I think most people, not only just police officers, but I think the courts would feel the same way, and I think the general public feels the same way, that a 17-year-old, or someone who's just shy of turning 18 doesn't have the mental capacity to formulate the intent to take a gun and shoot somebody. I don't believe it. So I think there's a strong argument for lowering that number down. That's going to be arbitrary, whether it's going to be 15, 16, or even 17. But yeah, I think when we look at the types of crimes that are being committed, we look at who's committing them, how they're getting access to these firearms, and and the victimology of the people that are being shot and killed. It's not always just young persons. We had a gentleman in the northeast in Scarborough over the weekend, in his 60s, gunned down in front of his house. Again, the victimology. Yes, there's suggestions that the RCMP had been to his home 5 months earlier and did a search warrant. He was connected to the Hells Angels in some way, to online gambling. But all of those things still lead to the one question: where did they get the gun from? And we know that they didn't get it lawfully. We know that it's coming from the state. So that's a whole other aspect of investigations that this entire police service in this country has to deal with.
I'm sure you would agree, though, there's also been a lot of great police work. There's been so many of these interprovincial, multi-police jurisdiction investigation that's led to, whether we're talking about guns and gangs or carjackings and the theft of these vehicles. Police are doing a lot of good work, and they're working with these other police forces. I got to wrap this up, but I want to get your take on a lot of the work that's being done from the police to make our city and country safer.
Well, it's every week that we're seeing, the press conferences now. Last Thursday or Friday, 3 different police services in the GTA. These investigations take time. They don't happen in 45 minutes, less commercial time. It takes months and months to put these together, and that's why we see the fruits of that labor on a constant basis.
Mark Mendelson, we always appreciate your time. Thank you.